stripes and bright stars, through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red flare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
So good afternoon, everybody. I am Dr. Dan Griffiths, the head of Stevenson's Upper Division, and welcome to our 2019 commencement exercises. First thing I'd like to thank you for trusting in our ability to control the weather. We were never in doubt the sun was going to shine on us today. Joining me on the stage are Jonathan Holloway, our distinguished speaker, Dr. Kevin Hicks, our president, David Colburn, 76, the chairman of our board of trustees, Amy Bates, the associate head of the Upper Division, and Eric Olson, dean of students. We, along with Stevenson's faculty and staff, trustees and alumni, and the great circle of friends that surrounds the school, congratulate you all on making it to this day. And we welcome you to a celebration that is made all the more meaningful by the presence of so many who have done so much to make this moment possible. When days like this and nights like last night go well, it's because some people have worked long hours over many days to deliver us to this moment. Your chair didn't unfold itself, and the grass didn't cut itself, and it was definitely not anyone up here who arranged all these wonderful flowers. This day and all the events leading up to it, the wonderful senior dinner and baccalaureate last night, are the result of teamwork that certainly approaches magic, but is not magic. So to the faculty, the facility staff, to the advancement and communications teams, to Michelle Boatman, Julie Ostorello, Jerry Dickinson, Jeff Barrett, Robin Bates, and to a whole group of students, faculty, and staff so large that we must address them collectively, thank you. I also want to acknowledge some of our current and former trustees who join Mr. Colburn here today. Mary Abercrombie, Cynthia Chapman, 83, Madeline Deininger, Mark Hornberger, 68, Michael Jackson, 68, Peter Nielsen, 73, Steve Packer, Stephanie Skinner, 90, Steve Zahm, 82, Don Dormer, 71, and Ted Ballesteri. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all you continue to do on behalf of the school. We know that some of those with whom we began this journey cannot be here to share this day with us. Parents, grandparents, siblings, and other kin and friends from home, Stevenson peers, favorite teachers, and coaches. In recognition of this fact, I invite a moment of silent reflection to honor those who, for whatever reason, we can do no more than welcome in spirit. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce this year's student body president, Matt Law.
Good afternoon, classmates, parents, teachers, trustees, and visitors. As this year's president of the student body, I welcome you to Stevenson School. Most of you have come here to celebrate one person who is especially dear to your heart. And I want you to know that your presence matters to all of us in the class of 2019, and we're all very excited to have you here with us. For those of you who know the senior you're here to congratulate better than you know the school from which they're about to graduate, it is my honor to introduce you to what is so special about our community. First, we come from everywhere, bringing our own cultures and perspectives with us. This isn't always easy, especially in the early days of our first arrival, but on the other side of my initial culture shock, I found lasting friendships and a better understanding of the world. Second, Stevenson has a truly welcoming spirit. Ever since I was a shy, clueless freshman, my peers and teachers were there for me, to check in with me, to offer advice on how to thrive, and to help me feel that I belonged. Their generosity has inspired me to try my best to embody that same spirit in helping others, and I know it's the same for many of us. Last, this is a place of abundant opportunity. Back home, I was not exposed to as many activities or sports. I didn't plan on doing much when I first arrived on campus, other than to do well in school. I'd never heard of water polo before and decided on a whim to try it. The team made a home for me. Water polo became a big part of who I am today, and I hope to play in college. Similarly, despite never having been involved in school leadership before I came to Stevenson, I was fortunate enough to be elected as one of 3 freshman class officers, and I haven't stopped being in student council since. And I can guarantee you that if you ask any of my classmates who knew me as a freshman, they will all tell you that they'd never have expected me to be standing on this stage in front of you all today, delivering this speech. In conclusion, I invite your patience as I speak directly to my mom, who can't be with us today. She's back home in Hong Kong in the comfort of her bed. Thank you. Thank you for all the sacrifices you've made to get Bianca and me to where we are today. We'll be home to see you soon. Thank you all for your attention, and thanks to all the people who have helped me and my classmates on our journey. It's a true pleasure to share this day with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. What will you remember of this day? If my own experience here 34 years ago is any indication, it will not be what is said into this microphone, despite the best efforts of those awarded the privilege of addressing you. You'll remember instead your classmates' giddy smiles, your supporters' overflowing pride, your own sense of relief, and the futile wish that this day and its most delightful sensations, many of which you did not expect, could have lasted just a little bit longer. And all of this is precisely as it should be. I begin with this gesture of anticipatory nostalgia to remind you that the pomp and circumstance of commencement constitutes a ritual intended not simply to honor your individual achievements and your collective identity as Stevenson's class of 2019, but also to welcome you into a joyous and dedicated body of alumni for whom the spaces you have these last 4 years been calling your own are the terrain of memory. From this point forward, more powerfully than has ever been the case before, you will represent in your every action, both observed and unseen, not only yourself and your family and your nation, but also now this place. However daunting it may seem, this permanent, intricate, wondrously malleable association is a matter of fact, not choice. So you must embrace it. You must find ways to make it your own, and a point of healthy, sustaining pride. In doing so, you will discover, as you pursue the life of service to others that is your long desire, that what you've earned in earning a Stevenson diploma is the right and responsibility to represent Stevenson to the world. In other words, if it is in any way true that you are because Stevenson is, then it is no less true that Stevenson is whatever you are and will be whatever you become. As a California school enlightened by a global sensibility, Stevenson is premised on a vision of education as the means by which we discover the world and contribute to its transformation. We believe that one's education is best pursued in the company of others, for others' benefit as well as one's own. Our Latin motto, suaviter in modo, fortiter in re, gentle in manner, resolute in spirit, inspires humility and perseverance. Our mission includes three aims: to prepare students for success in school and life beyond school, to foster their passion for learning and achievement, and to help them shape a joyful life. The two students invited to speak today on behalf of their class embody our vision, our motto, our mission, our grit, and our grace. Matt, who welcomed you in his role as this year's student body president, has brought enthusiasm, inclusiveness, and good humor to a demanding role. Our other student speaker, Casey Gu, will address you later as the winner of the John Lyon Reed Prize, which is awarded to the senior with the highest cumulative grade point average, and Dr. Griffiths will say more about Casey presently. Now, though, it is my privilege to introduce David Colburn from the class of 1976. Mr. Colburn joined the Board of Trustees in 2003. He has served as its chairman since 2018. His devotion to the school and its future is unparalleled, and it's been my great honor to work with him and his fellow trustees as stewards of our school. Please join me in welcoming him to introduce our featured speaker.
Good afternoon. It is my great honor to introduce today's speaker, Jonathan Holloway. Professor Holloway became the provost of Northwestern University 2 years ago. In that role, he is Northwestern's chief academic officer, and his many duties include supervising the educational policies and academic priorities of a university of 21,000 students that enjoys top 10 rankings in a variety of categories, overseeing the university's $2.4 billion annual budget, and acting on faculty appointments and promotions for Northwestern's 3,300 faculty members. As a truly distinguished scholar, Professor Holloway specializes in post-emancipation United States history with a focus on social and intellectual history. He is the author of several books, including Jim Crow Wisdom, Memory and Identity in Black America Since 1940. He also wrote the introduction to the 2015 edition of W.E.B. Du Bois' The Souls of Black Folk. He is currently working on a new book, A History of Absence, Race, and the Making of the Modern World. Prior to moving to Northwestern, Professor Holloway was the dean of Yale College. He received his BA from Stanford University, where he was a varsity football player, and a PhD in history from Yale. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker, Professor Jonathan Holloway.
Thank you for that lovely introduction and that kind welcome. I want to begin my comments with a very specific request. Let me ask everyone in the audience to focus their thoughts on these amazing young people who are poised to go out into this off-kilter world and through their hard and conscientious efforts start the work of repair. It is our job in this moment to carry them a few minutes more, to acknowledge what they have done to get this far, and to charge them with a mission as they take their leave from this particular Eden. When I spoke with Dr. Hicks a couple of weeks ago in order to get a flavor for these seniors, she shared that this is a dynamic and energetic class. Now, the words dynamic and energetic can be read in many ways. I noticed the faculty laughing here. Given that I could not see Dr. Hicks's face when he shared that assessment with me, I don't know if he was speaking from a position of pure exhaustion or something else. However, he also said that you were an accomplished class. And there's really no way of cutting or splicing that word into different meanings. So presuming that your dynamism and your energy are reflections of your better angels and acknowledging that you are an accomplished group, let me take a moment to engage in a very private act of recognition. Parents and family, please, I know you just met me, but allow me to the honor of doing this one by myself. Now, if anyone else wants to join me in this round of applause, it's a good time. Here's this amazing class of 2019. Okay, so we've done a little bit of celebrating, richly deserved, but I'm still standing here and you're stuck with me for another 13 minutes or so. What shall we do? I'll start by telling a story. Although I'm now working full-time as a university administrator, I'm an historian by training. As such, storytelling is very important to me. And over the course of my 25+ years in higher education, I've come to appreciate the ways in which a nuanced story about the past can yield a lot of information about the present, about who we are, and who we might aspire to be. One of the great pleasures of my job is that I get to work with people who share that same sensibility. The story I'm about to tell concerns one such person and the lesson she shared with her audience on a special occasion 3 weeks ago. In my capacity as Northwestern's Chief Academic Officer, I was serving as the MC for a ceremony in which we were honoring our most accomplished teachers. When one such teacher, computer scientist Mitra Hartman, gave her acceptance speech, she decided to conduct a participatory exercise. She asked us, and I will ask you to do the same thing quietly. She asked us to think back to when we were very young. She then asked us to think about the oldest person we had hugged and when that person was born. I found myself thinking about my paternal grandmother, born in 1900. Professor Hartman picked someone else in her past, born in 1920. More directions. Think again about that older person you hugged when you were young. And now imagine the oldest person they hugged, that oldest person, and imagine who they hugged when they were very young. Hartman walked us through some life expectancy statistics and averages and said that it would be reasonable to think that the oldest person someone born in 1920 hugged was in turn born in 1860. We are now on the other side of the Civil War. Imagine that. Everyone in the room was 2 hugs away from someone born before the outbreak of one of this nation's most profound tragedies. But Professor Hartman didn't stop there. She kept making 60-year leaps, and next thing you know, we were 5 hugs into this great chain, and we were visiting with Shakespeare. 2 more hugs brought us to Copernicus, the mathematician and astronomer who moved the Earth from the center of the universe and placed the sun there instead. Okay, so we got the part about the sun being the center of the universe wrong, but there's no doubting the fact that Copernicus disrupted entire ways of conceiving the known world. Even further, his ideas disrupted faiths, ways of conceiving the unknown world. Professor Hartman had us spellbound. We were, all of us, sitting in a room in Evanston, Illinois, but somehow transported across time and space to a moment that had been, until that acceptance speech, beyond an immediate sense of ourselves and the physical space we occupied on this planet. We all knew, of course, that we weren't connected to Copernicus through 7 literal hugs, but metaphorically, we had to face the fact that the past, no matter how distant, isn't really so far away when you start to think about time in new ways. A great story, in this case, a great mental exercise, will move you in this manner. Professor Hartman had another agenda in guiding us through this exercise. It was no accident that she ended with Copernicus. Hartman is in our School of Engineering and someone who specializes in developing models and programming that rely upon advanced scientific and computational skills. By profession, she also happens to be linked to a paradigm that revolves around the word disruption, or the phrase disruptive thinking. These are words that I know are familiar to all of you, especially given your proximity to Silicon Valley. When Hartman concluded her talk with Copernicus then, she was making an intentional choice. As I mentioned before, Copernicus was someone who disrupted familiar ways of thinking and believing. He changed the world, just as practically every new tech innovation promises to do these days. I get it. Disruption is a sexy idea, with all of its promises to find a better way to do X or a better way to experience Y. On this occasion, today, however, I feel it would be unethical of me if I didn't say, slow down. Let's take a moment and think carefully about a world in which disruption is the motivating factor. What is it that we are disrupting? What is it that needs to be changed? Regardless of your political sensibilities, we all know that we are living in curious times, an era in which so many of our political and cultural leaders have all but abandoned decorum and respect. And while every generation likes to declare that they had it harder than the spoiled kids in the following generation, I'm going to do the opposite. I want to state for the record that when I was your age, things seemed a whole bunch less complicated. Yes, there were familiar cries of a loss of innocence, teenagers who didn't know how to respect their elders, etc. But when I was in high school, social media didn't exist. You could make a simple mistake without the fear that a video of that mistake might get broadcast out into the world where it would reside forever. You could take the time to navigate the complex web of social relationships that exist in any high school without the fear of being trolled by true strangers who could take the art of bullying to levels that we still can't fully wrap our heads around. I don't want to sound too old-fashioned or preachy here. I recognize that there are many great things that have come along with disruptive thinking, and in particular with social media. For example, BuzzFeed quizzes that tell you who your true love will be and where you will have your honeymoon, just by selecting your favorite dessert, dog breed, and Game of Thrones character. But even though our lives have undoubtedly been enriched by radical advances in technology and communication, we are in a moment in which the subtleties found in everyday life can feel trampled by #politics, when debates about who can be a citizen are raging with a violence unknown in my lifetime, and where it is impossible to hide from tragedy because it seems that we are surrounded by it. On this occasion, when you have already been asked what it is that you will do with your one wild and precious life at last night's baccalaureate, I want you to reflect upon a handful of things that too often get left behind by our relentless fascination with disruption. Specifically, I want to talk about decency, kindness, recognition, and love. Wherever your next stop happens to be, I hope that you will demonstrate that you understand the power of decency. It is, I lament, in short supply these days. For me, being decent means that you move through the world with a heightened awareness of how you and others occupy space in it. It means that you understand the decisions you make affect not just you, but those around you and those whom you will never meet. It is important then that you act with restraint. You have been given great skills, and we certainly expect you to use them. But don't take and do and acquire simply because you can. Have a reason for your actions. To be decent means that you are intentional, that you know why you do what you do, and that you can look a friend and a stranger in the eye and explain yourself. Be kind. This is more than merely being polite. It is, in fact, much more than that. Most of you have been at Stevenson for 4 years, a few of you much longer. It is easy to be polite to one another. This is not a community of strangers. And even though merely being polite can be a challenge when you see your frenemy turning the corner, when I implore you to be kind, I'm asking you to do something much more difficult. Being kind means that you are prepared to engage others as your peer, that you listen to them and their ideas, and that you take them seriously. I am not telling you that every idea has equal merit, and that you should jettison your own sensibilities about this world. Rather, I'm asking you to consider others' worldviews, especially when they are not aligned with yours, and to think carefully about the possibility that there may be something there worth knowing. Taking this leap is an act of generosity, certainly, but it is also an act of kindness. It is an act that says that you are curious enough to open yourself to learning something new, and that you are confident enough in your own ideas that you are unafraid to have them tested. All of this requires a fundamental kindness because you understand that you are not alone in this world and that amazing opportunities are waiting for those who are kind enough to find value in unexpected places. Now, you've worked very hard to get to this moment, and we are gathered here to celebrate you and your successes. We want you to be proud of yourself and all of those accomplishments. However, wherever you go in life, it will be important that you understand that any success you may attain is not merely a product of your hard work. Many people, your family certainly, but many others, invested themselves in you so that you could succeed. I'm talking here about coaches, teachers, custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, counselors, administrators, security officers, tutors, bosses, choreographers, mentors, even Dr. Hicks. There is an entire infrastructure that has been dedicated to getting you to this moment. There will be another one waiting for you when you begin your next journey. Recognize it, acknowledge it, honor it, say thank you. It may surprise you to discover how much of a difference the simple act of recognition will make, especially when you honor someone who is doing the kind of hard work that so often goes unacknowledged in our society. The last thing I want you to reflect upon is love. I understand that the three values or principles that I've just mentioned, decency, kindness, and recognition, all are asking in some way that you take the time to love. This much is true. But right now I'm talking about a different kind of love. I'm talking about the radical act of love that is driven by a deep and resonant caring for one another, for the space you share and the spaces you don't, for the belief that people of all backgrounds deserve a fair chance to succeed, for the belief that their success is not an attack upon you, for the rule of law, for the promise of democracy, for the ground upon which we and strangers trod, for the water we and strangers drink, for the air that we and strangers breathe, for the planet we call our home. This is a love that is actually a call to action, a charge to dream and dare and to hold one another accountable. This is a call that says, as you leave Stevenson, you will, as Robert Frost implored us, have a lover's quarrel with the world. Be decent, be kind. Recognize others, express a radical and bold love. Class of 2019, you are dynamic, energetic, and accomplished. You are also on average 18 years old. There is so much more ahead of you. While you look to the horizon, be sure to remember that Copernicus is 7 hugs away. Shakespeare is 5. Both of these figures changed the world in ways that they could not possibly have comprehended. There is almost nothing about this moment, in fact, that they could have imagined. How we got here, what we are wearing, what we read and watch, the amount of information that we carry with us in our pockets, the way we consume and share that information. Even when we just go back 2 hugs and think about the mid-19th century, we have to recognize that we are living in an age of miracles and astonishment. The importance of thinking about these hugs is that it requires that we be humble. We did not, after all, arrive at this age because of anything we did. No, we are here because of others' labor. Most of that labor will never be known to us in the present. Furthermore, most of the people who did that labor will also remain unknown. But we know that they were working, writing, dancing, fighting, digging, singing, declaring, and theorizing for a purpose. They were laboring to make for a better future. That sense of the future may have been limited by the opportunities afforded them. Their labor may have been entirely dedicated on just making it to the next day. But collectively, they were all doing the work to make tomorrow possible. They all had a vision in their mind that something better could be attained, that a better tomorrow could be realized. They were, in a very real sense, engaging in their present to make sure the future would be ready for your arrival. And now here you are. Be in respectful awe of the past. Know that time can collapse in interesting ways when we start to think creatively. Understand that disruption has its place and purpose, but only when it is measured against the values that bind us together. These are values that have been given to you by your families, friends, and teachers. Carry those values with you as you take leave of this Eden. Act responsibly in your next endeavors as you do the work of building a better future for a generation that you will never know, a generation that will look back at you with wonder and with gratitude. Men and women of the Stevenson High School class of 2019, this is your charge. Embrace it with the seriousness that it deserves. Embrace one another in the process. After all, as I learned from my colleague in computer science, there is more to a hug than we think. Please accept my congratulations for your accomplishments, for your good looks and good cheer, for your compassion, and most of all, for your commitment to be a force for good in this world. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Jonathan. Because Stevenson is a pre-K through 12 school, each commencement exercise offers us an opportunity to acknowledge those students and their parents who have been part of our community for 12 years or more. There are 4 students in this category this year. A couple just missed the category, and I'm sorry. Their names are highlighted in your program, and I'd ask that these students please stand and be recognized as a group. Connor Adams, Tess Francione, Colin McKeachin, and Alexandra Pompey. That's a good-looking group. Congratulations to you, and thanks to all of these students' parents for their commitment to and trust in the school. Please now direct your attention, if you haven't done so already, to that section of your program dedicated to our community awards, which were presented at an all-school assembly last week, a ceremony in which we honor qualities resident within all by naming a few, and demonstrate one of our many distinctive traits as a school, the way in which our students take authentic pleasure and pride in one another's achievements. Today, we turn from awards that have been made already to 2 awards that will come as a true surprise to each recipient. So get ready to go bananas. First, the McNeely Prize for Most Improved Student. To do your best was one of the school's earliest slogans. And many years ago, the McNeely family, impressed by how powerfully their sons had been inspired by that catchphrase and proud of their association with a school that celebrates not just students' native talent, but also their perseverance and progress, established this honor, which is awarded annually to the senior who, in the estimation of the faculty, has, during her or his time at Stevenson, shown the most improvement as a student and a leader and a person. At this time, I'd like to ask Dean of Students Eric Olson to come forward and speak on behalf of this year's recipient of the McNeely Award, Jackie Garcia Ruiz.
Come on up, Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Clearly, your peers feel that you are deserving of this award as well. I'd like to share a couple words, once I get the right one here. It's a lot of words back there. Share a couple words of my own thoughts and some of my colleagues. So Jackie, 8 years ago, you arrived on the Carmel campus in the 4th grade. Do you remember that? Mrs. Bozzo also remembers that. She remembers you showing up, determined to establish your own identity, one separate from your older sister who had preceded you there. Those elementary and middle school years challenged your academic focus, but you persevered. When you graduated to the upper division on the Pebble Beach campus, academic success did not necessarily come easily. But in time, you once again summoned the strength and courage you had shown in Carmel. As a result of your steady hard work and commitment to being your best self, you've become an accomplished and empowered student. Those who know you best now describe you as a self-confident young woman with an indomitable spirit. You are independent, communicative, and passionate. You are independent, communicative, and passionate. You are a self-advocate who has learned to optimize your resources available to you. You have established yourself as a first-rate citizen of the classroom, wonderfully observant and self-reflective, always willing to stretch yourself. Your dedication to develop yourself as a scholar has exposed a talent and a passion to write, something we expect you will continue to enjoy in your journey after Stevenson. Jackie, your progress and growth is remarkable and inspiring. Your modesty and humility have endeared you to your peers and to your teachers. Your spirit and determination have earned our deep respect. So it is with great confidence that we send you off to Mitchell College in Connecticut. We certainly know you have what it takes to experience great success there. So congratulations.
"30 years ago, the McNeely family also established an award for excellence in teaching, which is given annually to that teacher who has done the most to help this senior class realize its potential. The selection is made by the president, the head of the upper division, and a group of seniors, 11 this year, charged with representing their class. And thanks to those of you who performed that service to the school. I should note that a teacher may win the award only once in her or his Stevenson career, so it's a big deal, and you get 10% off down at the Pebble Beach company store on Thursdays between 3 and 5. So, please join me in congratulating the recipient of the 2019 McNeely Award for Teaching, who will now come forward to occupy the chair that accompanies the honor and hear some words, as we all will, read by Dr. Griffiths. Dr. Amy Jacobs.
Thank you, Dr. Hicks, and congratulations, Dr. Jacobs. Dr. J, as she is known by the student body, arrived at Stevenson in 2013 from the University of Virginia, where she completed her PhD in American history and taught a broad variety of classes. She's touched student lives in multiple contexts, as a cross-country and track coach, a dorm head in Silverado, as a college counselor, and as a member of the history department, where she has exhibited endless delight and interest in the study of both US history and art history. When discussing Dr. Jacobs, the Student Selection Committee spoke of her infectious enthusiasm for whatever they were studying, and how her energy and constant kind encouragement inspired even the most reluctant history student. Even those that she had never taught before noted that after the briefest interaction, she would follow up by meeting them with a smile and a warm greeting when she next saw them on campus. In her 6 years here, she's been recognized by the Student Council with awards for being the most enthusiastic lecturer and most easily heard voice on campus. She was also chosen to give the cum laude ceremony address last year. Amy is the most generous colleague, driven by curiosity, a love of learning, and the determination to continually improve her professional practice. Knowing Dr. J's intense humility, this award will likely be surprising to her, but her colleagues who are lucky enough to work with her know just how deserving a recipient she is. Thank you, Amy, for your everyday living of the school mission, of preparing students for success in school and beyond, for fostering a passion for learning, and for modeling how to live a joyful life. Congratulations. So it's also my honor to present the John Lyon Reed Award, which honors one of Stevenson's founding trustees and its first architect, and which is given to the senior who ranks highest in cumulative grade point average. This year's recipient is Casey Gu, who will now come to join me on stage. As she makes her way up here, let me tell you all you need to know about Casey. So Casey, if you come and join me. So Casey came to Stevenson as a freshman with a huge appetite for learning and, like many of our seniors, a very different hairstyle. From the outset, she'd been interested in developing a deep understanding of the concepts in front of her. Never satisfied with a simple, what do I need to know, but asking the important why questions behind the simple explanation. This not only served her own learning, but improved the discourse for all of her classmates. Her dorm head describes her as a natural leader of her peers who is as good at listening as talking, with a natural inclination to help anyone who needs support. As well as having a stellar academic record, Casey's participated in a team sport every trimester of her 4 years, playing field hockey and basketball, swimming, and even throwing in some surfing and hip-hop dancing for good measure. Her transcript shows a wonderful diversity of experience. Casey has excelled across the curriculum, taking our highest honors classes in math, science, English, history, language, and music. Congratulations, Casey, on this well-deserved recognition, and I invite you now to give the John Lyon Reed address.
Just getting the order of her pages right.
Good afternoon. It is my great honor to be standing here today and speaking to you all. I am immensely grateful for the events and the people that led up to this moment, and for being able to occupy the space and time. Thank you all for being my audience today. I'd like to first share with you a quote from one of my favorite books, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Half of Frankl's book is about his experience as a prisoner in Nazi concentration camps, and the other half explains his theory that while we cannot avoid suffering, we can choose how to cope with it find meaning in it, and move on with renewed purpose. He writes, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." In recent weeks, I found myself thinking about the inevitable. Not so much about Thanos and Endgame, but about how we're shaped by where we come from. In Mr. Elmore's cum laude talk, he compared our lives with water flowing down from the Southern Sierra and into Salinas Valley. While the water follows riverbeds that have existed for centuries, unpredictable outside forces can cause new paths to form, and the new courses change the landscape in their journey. My journey has been both expected and unexpected. One thing you may not know about me is that I will be a first-generation college student. My extended family has a rural background, and I lived with my maternal grandparents in rural China for the first 2 years of my life. I only have one life. Sorry. As my parents struggled to make a living in the city of Guangzhou. My grandparents are barely literate and only speak the Hakka dialect. So my first encounter with language barriers came when I reunited with my parents in the city and attended a preschool where everyone spoke Mandarin Chinese and Cantonese. My family went back and forth between the city and the countryside for many Chinese New Years, tomb sweeping festivals, and summer vacations until 2015, when my father's family house was bulldozed to make way for factories. My last visit there was surreal. I had many fond childhood memories of that house, but I had not been there since starting middle school in Singapore. I then visited my maternal grandparents' village where I had grown up and found it almost entirely empty of young people, most of whom had left for the cities. To use Mr. Schmigen's favorite term, it was a liminal space, which I occupied between leaving Singapore and starting high school in Pebble Beach, California, a place that at that time meant nothing more to me than what the name suggests, some sort of beach with more rocks than sand, which wasn't far from the truth. Little did I expect that I would find an entirely new horizon here. When I arrived, I quit gaming and joined sports. Until recently, I downloaded PUBG under peer pressure. Before Stevenson, I had never played field hockey or competed in basketball, swimming, and cross country. I learned a lot from my coaches and my teammates. For example, my swimming coach, Mr. Fannin, has taught me that chlorine can heal the common cold, minor abrasions, and period cramps. I also received unconditional support and rice balls from my loving advisor and Japanese teacher, Nagashima-sensei. This year, when I visited her house for a weekend cooking party, I finally, for the first time, got to use the high-tech Japanese toilet seat, which I received for winning my first Japanese speech contest in freshman year, and which I donated to Nagashima-sensei's house. It felt good. My later speech contest results went downhill ever since the toilet seat, but I am glad that whenever she sees it, she can be reminded of me. In my sophomore year, I started participating in National History Day, a history research contest. I spent just about the whole school year researching the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II and building a group website with my partner, Nancy Yu. Through Nagashima-sensei's introduction, we interviewed a former internee, Mas Hashimoto, and his wife, Marsha Hashimoto. They kindly accepted our invitation and came to Stevenson last year to give an engaging presentation about the Japanese-American experience during World War II and Mass's 1950s road trip in the South. As a retired US history teacher and a longtime social activist, Mass inspired me to study racial identities in the American imagination at Stanford Humanities Institute last summer. His recommendation letter also helped me get admitted to the Reischauer Scholars Program this year, a 4-month online course about US-Japan's relations. Thanks to Mr. Hinckley, who covered the feast of National History Day, and to Dr. Oster, who chaperoned multiple NHD contests, I had the opportunity to explore my subjects of interest. My Stevenson journey is filled with such stories, where accidental seeds grow into intertwining branches and unforgettable ties. I like a word that Mr. Stevenson introduced to me, serendipity, which is the occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy and beneficial way. While I made my decisions to leave home and study in Singapore, and then to leave Singapore to study in the US, it was serendipity that brought me to where I am. Serendipity that was a function of China's expanding economy, my father's career advancement, the US becoming a popular destination for higher education, supportive and motivated friends, and inspirational teachers. At Stevenson, I learned to face my fears and insecurities instead of pretending that they're not there. Doing so allowed me to flow, much like the rivers Mr. Elmore described. Throughout the ups and downs of the past years, there have been many moments when I was amazed by the sheer physical beauty of this place, thankful for being challenged and surrounded by loved ones. Living here, I feel ready to uptake whatever the future holds. I think that courage is the biggest gift that Stevenson has given me. It was Nancy who suggested that I read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. It became a source of great inspiration. I keep coming back to it. I see a parallel between the Jewish concentration camps and the Japanese-American internment camps. Both groups of victims were targeted for reasons not within their control, and a series of inexorable events culminated into their tragedies. I can only imagine the enormity and weight of such events for those people whose lives would be changed forever. When I get overwhelmed by pressure, competition, and anxiety, I think about where I come from, why I am here, and where I am going. I recall that getting an education isn't just about myself or achieving the standard definition of success. Rather, it is about making sense of my lineage, my identity, and the world around me. It is about realizing the privileges and resources that come not by my own hands. And it is about harboring gratitude for my communities and striving not for personal accomplishments, but for giving back. To be a droplet of water in the irreversible river of life is exciting and terrifying at the same time, knowing where you come from, but not exactly where you're going. Through the past 4 years, the more I become aware of the fact that we are indeed the products of our environments, the more I value Frankl's tenacious optimism. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. My fellow classmates, from here on out, Stevenson will forever be part of the tapestry that constitutes who we are. We get to decide what meanings and values we can learn from this particular episode of our personal history. Moving forward, we will be challenged, but we will not be defeated. May we all find meaning in our lives and may we find our way to lives that matter to others. Thank you to my teachers, to my classmates, and to my family, and thank you for your attention.
You forgot to drop the mic. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to present the class of 2019 for the conferring of their diplomas.
Yi Nuk Matthew Law. Ta Kyung Kathy Jung. Benjamin Michael Abrams. Connery Campbell Adams. Charles Benjamin Alliston. Cameron James Bailey. Alessandra Jeanette Balistreri Jennings. Gabrielle Anne-Marie Butler. Jiyeon Che. Jasmine J.D. Chang. Hungru Henry Chen. Miaojing Jessica Chen. Oscar Tianyu Chen. Xiaoni Sylvia Chen. Ife Lucy Chen. Stephanie Colette Dahlhammer. Ada Ihan Ding. Zisha Connor Ding. Reed Charles Doble. Ryan Vincent Douglas. Zarisadea Duerte. Dominic Leonardo Inserti. Haley Jane Fannin. Simone Claire Fong. Teresa Caterina Francioni. Tessa Marie Freudenberger. Spencer Setrak Gagos. Jacqueline Daisy Garcia Ruiz. Grace Malia Gray. Kaichi Casey Gu. Martin Salvador Gutierrez. Peerless Catherine Hawkins. Tajane Chance Henderson. Catherine Hewitt. Samantha Kohana Hiura. Lillian Sue Ho. Min Duk Huang. Wei Ching Annika Huang. Grace Ann Hurley. Tierra Brenda Jackson. Connor Daniel Choate Jacobs. William Scott Jameson. Leon Applejin. Shreya Kamra. Hanari Philo Katzman. Hiso Kim. Taehoon Kim. Ming Ho Ko. Belle Idan Marie Kreitler. Yoon Chu Angelina Kwan. Yi Lam Bianca Law. Darren Junhae Lee. Sue Yun Christine Lee. Taylor Sean Lee. Huntian Maggie Lee. Hung Rui Lee. Shu Yuastella Lee. Shu Wei Bing Jason Lin. Matthew Mohin Long. Lara Lachi Liu. Kevin James McDonald. John Colin Peter McKeechan II. Margaret Lois McLean. Jessie Nicole Miranda. John Jewel Muller Jr. Chi Sung Moon. Alexander Stewart Murray. Matthew Westring Nielsen. Ryan Douglas Nielsen. Jae-sung No. Maeve Kahealani O'Connor. Ian William O'Neill. Melina Mary Pappas. Ji Woo Park. Alexandra Ann Pompey. Sylvie Maris Pratt. Nono Tian Cho. Ariana Nicole Razavi. Alexander Carl Romans. Brian Shoei Salim. Nathan Michael Scherner. R. Nathaniel Schulhoff. Julia Stephanie Sexton. Tiancheng Jack Shi. Selena Grace Shimar. Beiqing Song. Esther Späder. Alyssa Lynn Stiegel. Noel Yunsa Sa. Luke Matthew Sweetie. Selen Tavli. Nina Alexandra Telesco. Courtney Danielle Tuberty. Shivaya Sophia Urcuyo. Rashil Rakesh Vasant. Kwang An Vu. Honorable Samuel Walker. Pei Michelle Wong. Tianjan Tina Wang. Wendy Aaliyah Wang. Kevin Wu. Alexander Hanwen Shi. Bohan Hans Shu. Eli Sache Yamashita. Thomas Pochi Yang. Jahao Eric Yu. Caden Pacifico Zam. Marco Emmanuel John Andre Zaninovich. Angela Zan. Shunha Andrew Zhang. And Ka-Xing Ju.
In closing, I wish to offer our seniors one final query by which to recall this day and their time at RLS. To whom shall you express your gratitude, and how? It's a question we would all do well to ask ourselves every morning and every evening, but on this day of all days, its urgency is for two reasons keenly felt. First, as you consider the debt you've incurred to the mentors who have inspired and guided you, realize that what you owe them can and must be calculated and sometimes recalculated, but can never be repaid, at least not directly. You'll meet these obligations to these people only by one day, extending yourself in patience and generosity to someone else, just as they, in helping you as they have, are working off their own tender debt to teachers long gone. There's a second reason we should pause at this question: to whom shall you express your gratitude and how? Your rewards have been great because your sacrifices have been many. But I want to suggest to you now that each one of your sacrifices has been shared and in many cases surpassed in ways that are as of yet beyond your imagination by the people who have come from near and far to celebrate this day with you. The only compensation they seek, or more precisely, the one that matters to them most of all, you will be able to provide in just a little while when, with diploma clasped firmly in hand, you look each one of them squarely in the eye and say in the voice you have learned to reserve for your truest words, "Thank you for everything you have done to help me make this day possible." Rest assured they can hardly wait to say the same thing to you. In a moment, Courtney Slaughterback Harwood, class of 1992, president of the Stevenson School Alumni Association, will lead us in the world's finest school prayer, which can be found in your program if you don't know it. As I said last night at Baccalaureate, the school prayer is what connects all of us to this place and to one another across all the generations that comprise our tribe. It's what we turn to in times good and bad, to celebrate, sometimes to mourn, to remind ourselves of both a place and a time that shall remain forever one of our homes in the world. At the close of today's ceremony, we ask that all families and other guests remain seated until our last graduate has left the amphitheater. And then you're invited to remain for our reception, which will take place this year in both Rosen Student Center, directly behind me, and also Reed Hall to my left. We've never done it this way before. It's tremendously exciting for all of us. I have a suggestion. If the people on my right would start in Rosen, and the people on my left would start in Reed, and then your kid will text you to see where you are, it will avoid mayhem. And there's plenty of shrimp for everybody, so remain calm. I will now ask our newest graduates to stand and be recognized together for the last time. Move your tassels from right to left. Take a deep breath. And ready for your cue. Congratulations, Stevenson class of 2019. That's it. That's the cue. And please rise as you are able for the school prayer.
Lord, give us the strength to encounter that which is to come, that we may be brave in peril, constant in tribulation, temperate in wrath, and in all changes of fortune, and down to the gates of death, loyal and loving to one another. Congratulations.